Recorded. So welcome. This is breakout session number 2 in room 3, best practices for course design. Today we have Melanie Baker presenting along with Kelly. Melanie is one of our dedicated principal adoption consultants. She is committed to working to make Canvas awesome in Nevada. She is an instructional technologist with an MAT from Purdue University, an instructional systems technology certificate from UNC Charlotte. She has also taught mathematics in grades 6 through 12, as well as alternative in alternative schools. As a technology facilitator, she was on a team that was one of 11 schools to pilot the one-on-one Chromebook program alongside Canvas implementation for Charlotte Mecklenburg schools, and worked with over 33 K-12 schools that used Canvas. With that, Melanie, it's all yours.
All right, everyone. So again, my name is Melanie Baker. I'm one of the dedicated Nevada consultants. For those of you who were in the last session, Kelly Lozicki, she is here as well.
Hello.
We call ourselves work wives. So she's my work wife. And so she'll be manning the chat and answering questions. So when you see us today, we'll be alternating chat duties and responsibilities. So if you have questions during the session, feel free to put them in the chat, and she will step in at any point if we need to answer it at that moment, or if it's a group question. In this session, we're going to go through some best practices. I will kind of go between the presentation and a demo course that I have so that you can actually see where these resources are in Canvas. So don't be alarmed if you see me going back and forth, just so you can get a live view of where these resources are.
Melanie, we do have a question in the chat. Apparently the bit.ly link is not working.
Okay.
And I don't have access to that one. I can create a new one if you.
Yeah, can you create a new one? Can you update?
I sure will.
And update the slide.
Yes.
I think I may have changed it and forgot to put the new one in there. So
Okay.
My apologies for that one. This is the session, best practices for course design. So we'll talk to you about some aesthetics, and we'll also talk about content best practices as well. So again, we'll go ahead and get started. Get over here. So disregard this bit.ly for now. Kelly will put a new one in the presentation. So it'll be updated by the end of this session. Again, my name is Melanie Baker. That is my Twitter account. That is our shared Nevada email address. Feel free to email us. We are dedicated to Nevada. So if you are someone, Kelly will put it in the chat, yes. If you are someone who needs assistance with maybe your school or your team, you can reach out to us. Is it Mayara? Are you trying to ask a question? I thought I saw her talking.
Okay.
Okay. This is a dedicated email address. It comes to the both of us, and we will respond as quickly as we can. Please make sure your questions are very detailed. It would also be great if you could even share a link to a course that you want us to kind of view the things that you're discussing in your request. So, all right, this is our agenda for today. We're going to talk about course considerations, designing for the user, not designing for you as a teacher, but for the person who is actually using your course. We will go into Canvas Commons. If you are not familiar with Commons, Commons is a place where there are pre-built resources that you can import into your course and utilize them in your classroom. Once they're in your course, you can edit them. So we will show you where that is. Also, we'll talk about organization. If you don't walk away with anything from this session, walk away with being organized. That if you take nothing away, organization, naming convention, those are like my two pet peeves when I look at a course. If I see that you named all of your modules with the same homework name, homework one in every module, it will throw you off as a teacher. It will throw the student off because they don't know which homework one you're talking about. Speed grader is your friend. If you're like me, I didn't like grading. I wish this was around when I was a full-time teacher. You can have Canvas automatically grade a lot of your content for you. And then we'll kind of talk about the stakeholders. There is a Canvas parent app as well. I use it. I have children in Canvas. I know when my child turns in assignments. I know when they're late. I know how much he is read on a page. I know all those analytics as a parent, and it comes right in alerts. So those are the things that we will go through. This session, oh God, let's see if I can convert my time correctly. What goes from 10:30 to 11:20, is that right? Okay, I'm on the East Coast, so counting backwards 3 hours always messes me up. So we'll go ahead and get started. So to teach, the journey of a teacher. And I love this quote. It says, there is no formula or recipe that works for all learners in all times. There is no set of lesson plans or units that can engage the range of learning styles, approaches, and intelligence that are likely to gather in one classroom. As teachers, we already know this. We know that every single personality in that room is different. And so when you're creating your assignments, think about switching up the types of assignments that you give your students. Some students are visual. Some students are okay with a lot of words. So you want to kind of vary that when you are building your courses. And personality style. Some students love face-to-face. Some students don't. So that's just something to keep in mind as you are building your courses. All right, so the presentation, hopefully you guys will be able to see it in a moment. I'm actually going to switch to a live course so that we can talk about the first area is designing for the user experience. So I'm going to move this out of the way. I have a lot of screens going on here. So if you guys see me looking all different kinds of directions, that's why. All right, so this is a demo course that we have. And one of the first things that I see a lot of teachers struggle with is, well, what do I show my students in Canvas? So if you're a new user to Canvas, one of the first things, I would tell you to do is to simplify the layout of your Canvas course. So whenever you go into Canvas, there's this wonderful navigation bar on the left side. This is called your course navigation. This is everything that the students can see. When you are first starting out with Canvas, you may not use all of these resources. So what I would recommend is that you simplify your course navigation. For those of you who see that little eyeball, what this is, it means two things. One, you have not used announcements before, or you haven't used a feature. And two, it's not visible to students. So that's what that I stands for. So if you've never used a certain portion of Canvas, you'll see the I, or if there is, if you've hidden it. So to change this navigation bar, you would go into settings. And you would go to navigation. And what this allows you to do is pick and choose what your students can see. If you are just starting out and you just want students to see the home page, you just want them to see announcements, and you just want them to see the modules. For instance, you're a teacher who is really not, you haven't gotten strong at creating assignments and you're just using Canvas for pages. To do that, you would simply right click the three dots, and you can disable it. And what disabling does is it moves it to the list at the bottom. So now it's not visible to the students. Did you have a question, T? Oh, you did it? Okay. Okay. Or if you're like me, you can just drag it down. So drag and drop works here, or clicking the 3 buttons. And what this does is it makes it invisible to students if it's at the bottom. And this is one thing to remember. Whenever you see a blue button in Canvas, it's a good thing. You want to hit save, because if you don't, it won't save those settings that you have put. So if you want to make sure that you hid certain things, in the right-hand corner of every course, there's always a student view button. How many of you have knew what that student view button was for? For the people I can see. Did you guys know what the student view button was for? Okay.
No, I did not. Sorry.
You did not? Yeah, so student view allows you to see it from the student's perspective. So you can ensure that they don't see things that you don't want, that they don't need to see. So when you click on it, yes, when you click on it, you will see exactly what they see. So I removed the studio button, and I forgot the other one that I removed, but anything that you take away will go away. So you can see if you did it correctly. So it's like a way to check behind yourself. All right. And so let's leave student view. Please make sure you leave student view, because if you get stuck and you're like, I can't do anything, it's usually because you haven't left student view. So someone's laughing because people get stuck and they're like, what's going on? It's because you didn't leave student view. So it'll be a big, bright pink bar at the bottom. The other thing is that we want to talk about is setting your navigation just in the course in general. So I'm going to go back into settings. So your course has a lot of really cool features in it. So you have your course details. For those of you who are like artsy and you like pictures and, you know, elementary, they love this. You can change the picture here in your course. If you don't like the one that your school put in your template, or if you want to change it, you can just change the image. You can upload any image that you have created. I am a big fan of, Google Draw. So I'll go into Google Draw and I'll make a cute little picture and I will save it there. So you can customize it for each class. So have many of you used Google Draw before to make images? Or if you're not crafty, I see the head shaking no. When you go to Google, be mindful, there's a little drop down where you can get resources that can be reused. So make sure you're not choosing the ones that are like copyrighted. Like don't stick the Amazon logo there. That's not ours, but there are free resources that you can grab from Google, or just generic ones. I believe, Kelly, correct me if they can use Unsplash. I don't.
Absolutely.
Unsplash. Yes.
Yes, absolutely. Any images in Unsplash.
So like if you wanted cookies as your image, you could go in and type it in. So these are images that you can use copyright free. They're yours to take. So I would do it, you know, just to customize, and also so you know the difference between your classes and you don't get confused. It helps. Sections, it depends on how your school is setting it up. Some schools allow teachers to do what we call cross-listing and divide their students into sections. If you're allowed to do that in your school district, this is where you would do it. You would break your students up into groups, and that way you can assign your work to the students. It's still tied to your grade book, so don't panic about that. It's still tied to the grade book. Again, we talked about navigation. In the last session, when Kelly was going over Canvas is my backpack, one of the things that she discussed was apps. So apps they're just an easy way to integrate different resources into Canvas. Many of these your schools may already have, but if you want to try some of them, they are in the App Store. My favorite by far would probably be Redirect. I would strongly recommend this one. Redirect is great because if you're using, for instance, hopefully I'm saying this right, OpenSciEd, Is that right? Open SciEd. You can link to an external resource and have it live right in Canvas. So what you would do is put the URL into redirect, and it will allow you to view another website right inside of Canvas. So if your school didn't get the LTI or integrate Canvas, you can embed pages right in Canvas. So redirect is a great one. Kelly, are there any other ones like off the top that you can think of?
Oh my gosh, there's so many.
What about for high school? Turn it in. Is that one a good one? Do we have that one?
It depends on if they have that available to them, if their district or school has purchased it. But yes, that is a good one. I used to use Khan Academy all the time.
Yes.
There's Nearpod, and Discovery Education is a great one.
Yep, Discovery Education is a great one. All right, so let me whip back on over here to our presentation. Instructor presence is a big one. I know that a lot of you are teaching virtually, some of you are face-to-face, but I'll say this, and I mentioned this to Kelly when we first met. I started using Canvas back in 2014, and I was in the classroom. And so my use of Canvas has always been face-to-face. I never used it in a virtual environment. So the pandemic was like really new to me with students being at home using Canvas, because we used it, I used it for several years face-to-face. So for us, it was more of a resource repository for our students versus the classroom. So the only thing we didn't have was Zoom. And I actually did Google Meets for students who were out. So if they needed to review, I would do a Google Meet with them. So we kind of were doing a blended learning environment in advance. One of the things that is really important for students is that you are present, that you engage all of your learners. So you have to have videos, pictures, discussion boards are key. You always have a student sitting in your class who does not talk. They don't raise their hand. This is going to be funny to some of you because I'm going to do something right now that every teacher in here has experienced on a Zoom. And I watched my son do it. But many of you have these kids in your class during your Zoom session where you see, I see someone laughing, you see the top of their head, you see ceiling fans, you see foreheads. And so those kids are not engaged, right? Because they're probably doing something else. We don't know. So you have to engage them another way. So discussion boards are great. Also a bio about yourself. So talk about yourself. If you do something unique, put it in your bio. Like I play kickball and I do salsa. Like I would put that in there for my students to know, because you never know, that may be the thing that engages them. So make sure that they know who you are and you are present. So we're going to go through and briefly mention a course design checklist. We have put it in the course, but if you're someone who wants to use your course over and over and over again, the course evaluation checklist is your friend. What this list is, it shows you key areas of things you should have in your course, what makes it an effective course. So there are things are like on here, like what should be on a homepage? What are the key things, like the name of your course, what the course is about, maybe a link to your bio, to your mod, to your course material, or like a button for chat if the students want to chat with you. So this checklist is kind of like a guidebook for the things that will make your course effective for your students. So we have placed it in the course in this slide presentation for you, and you can make a copy for yourself. Any questions? I see the chat has 50. I'm scared to go in that world, so I'm gonna let Kelly handle that.
I'm a little behind, but I promise everyone I'm catching up. A couple had to be researched, so I'm on it. Also, the link, apparently I linked to the wrong class, so I'm fixing it now. Give me 1 second.
Okay. Well, let me peek through the chat real quick. I see some question. Someone says students are engaging clowning, which can be used to involve the student. So that is a good question. So video responses in your discussion, where you can have them record a video response in discussion boards. They can do that. So they can type in the discussion board or have them do a video.
No,
Or,
I was saying, I was saying that when they're showing the foreheads and that kind of thing, they're kind of goofing off, and that could be used to involve them in what you're teaching them. That's what I meant.
Oh, okay. Well, yesterday, Kelly, was this yesterday where we did the activity, the laugh activity? Was that yesterday?
Yes, that was yesterday.
Nice.
So we did this really cool activity with
Laughing yoga.
Laughing yoga. And it was so much fun. It was interesting. So the short of it is we had a group, it was our team, and the teacher, the lead of our team, asked everyone to stand up on Zoom. So we stood up and we all followed the instructions of this video. It was called Laugh Yoga. So we had to like fake laugh and do these little things in the video, and everyone was involved on camera. So for those kids who usually show their forehead, probably sitting down probably drives them crazy, right? So if you can maybe do, I forgot what it was called back. There was this tool I used years ago where it would, I would get an alert and it would tell me to get up and the kids had to move during class. So dropping a video or something fun in class during your session is also a great way to engage those kids who can't sit for 50 minutes. Sit for an hour.
Yeah,
so
I teach autistic kids, so yeah, sitting sometimes is even a never thing.
Yes, one of my children, I had to let his teachers know he needs to walk around the classroom. And my rules at home are don't touch anybody when you're walking around. And don't hit a head, smack a head, or don't do that. And she let him stand during class. Nice. And it worked for him. So kind of find out through the discussion board what the kids like to do, or ask them, we know Zoom is hard. What's something you would like to be able to do during the Zoom to make you comfortable? That's a great discussion board question to have. And you'd be amazed at what you will learn from the students because they'll tell you.
Thank you.
They'll tell you. All right, so modules, utilizing modules. This will be the bulk of our class. Me and Kelly are both going to talk about this, but if you don't walk away with anything, I'm going to stress this and say this 10 times like we tell the children. Build your courses from the module screen. Let me repeat that again. Build your content on the modules page. You want to repeat that, Kelly?
I will. I absolutely will. This is the best, the most effective. It's fantastic for your students. Use modules. Start with modules. Build it there. Your course will be so organized. You'll be so glad you did. Melanie is correct on this one.
We can't stress this enough.
Yes.
And for anyone who has used Canvas and not built in modules, they can attest to the fact that they don't know where their content is. They don't know what they've built. They've renamed a module the same thing as another module, and they just don't know. Someone said build from the module page. Yes.
Thank you.
So just some key tips. Modules help control the flow of your class. However you want to teach your class, put it in the modules in that order. You can organize by unit, day, week, topic, outcome. I taught math, so I would probably go by the strand. So if it was fractions, I would have a fractions module. If it was English, I don't know anything about English. I don't know, like parts of speech. Is that English? Yeah, parts of speech is English, right? Kelly, you taught English.
Yes, it is. Parts of speech is English. Absolutely.
Science, you can teach you can do the different areas. If you're doing the little people, you may want to have one class of students all day. You may want to make a module per subject or by the week. And even if you do it by the week, you can put headers inside for the different days, right? you can track their progress. I'll kind of show you about requirements and prerequisites. High school teachers, this is your friend. For the kids who love to work ahead so they don't have to do anything after Wednesday, you can stop them in their tracks on Tuesday and make them wait. This is also great for you if you want to get your work graded. And so we'll kind of talk about modules. Oh, and this is the other key thing too. When class starts and the kids go, we can't see anything. Well, there's a publish button that a lot of teachers forget to hit so that they can actually see the content. So this is a good slide to keep in mind. Self-contained students who are non-readers. Yes, we will talk about that. There is immersive reader. I'm sorry, Kelly. What am I thinking about?
It's immersive reader.
Yes, immersive reader. Yes,
you had it right.
Yes, I was right. It will read it to them. Also for self-contained students, in studio later, we'll talk about how you can read content on video to them. So if you want to record yourself reading. So someone said I'm the worst at publishing. Yes. Take 5. This is just a technique to helping you build your classes, your modules. First, figure out what goes in your modules. What are you doing in this unit? Okay, write it out. I believe that when you write things out, you tend to stick those details in, right? You remember the little things. Put videos in there. Canvas allows you to make your own videos, bring in YouTube videos. So you have that capacity. How do you want them to submit? Do you want them to just do multiple choice questions? Do you want them to take a picture of their work so you can annotate it? Do you want them to build it in an outside resource like Discovery Education? Like, are they doing it somewhere else and turning it in? And then how do you scaffold? You can create your assignments. You can increase the rigorous capacity of the assignments, or you can bring it down, and you have the capacity to assign different assignments to your students. So in the same class, you can have a differentiated assignment and assign it to specific students in your class. So that's something to think about. Let me go into a course. So this is an 8th grade math course. And I'm going to go show you the modules. So this particular module is broken out by units. And as you can see, we have a name for the unit, the title of the unit. This is important. If you say module 3, that's great. But try to name your modules, right? And in this module, we have a page that they can view. It's broken up by lessons. And then these are the activities that go with Unit 3, Part 1. And if any of you notice, does everyone notice the naming convention within the unit? It is tied to the name of the module. This is really important no matter what module structure you use, whether it's weeks, months, strands. Make sure that the assignments in your module have a connection to the module name. Because if you say Part 1 and then you have another module that says Part 1, how do the students know the difference if you don't unpublish, right? So the students need to know the difference with your assignment. So be very specific about how you name your assignments. In this course, they have, I think someone mentioned earlier that they do like an overview page. So this is like an overview page. It tells what the unit is about. There are some videos. Someone said, thank you for sharing math. Yes, I'm a math teacher. I am terrible at spelling, so I'm gonna stick to the math. You can put videos in so that the students can maybe review courses, review material before you start the unit. And these look like Khan Academy videos. The other thing that's really good about Canvas, within a module, you have the capacity to control the flow. And we talked about this earlier about your students trying to work ahead. You have the ability, there's a feature called prerequisites and requirements. So a prerequisite would be, for instance, if you have two modules, for instance, module 1 and module 2, you can put a prerequisite for module 2 that they have to complete everything in the module before in order to move on. So if you're doing, say, a self-paced class, they have to finish everything in the module before. And within that, you have a couple of options here. So do they have to complete everything in the module? Or, and also, do you want them to go in order? So if you don't want kids to like skip around, there are some kids who will skip around and do whatever whenever. They do it on their assignments. They'll even do it on a quiz. They'll skip questions and go back and forth. If you want them to go in sequential order, you have that capacity as well. If you want them to complete specific things in a module, so you might have 10 assignments in a module, but you only want them to maybe do 5 for credit and 5 for practice. You can put what are called requirements. Someone asked earlier about the mark is done in the other course. I'm sorry, I have a person in my house going in and out. You have the ability on a page, if you want them to view the page, this is a great analytic because you can tell when they went on the page and how long they were on the page because Canvas captures that. So you'll have a kid who will click on the page and zoom on to the next one. You'll see that they were there for like 1 second because the analytics will tell you that. So I don't know anyone who can read a full page in a second. Yes, you can access the recording later. Mark is done. If you want to hold them accountable, mark is done will appear in the bottom right where the arrow is. Contribute to the page. This one is good if you have a discussion board. So if you have a discussion question and you want them to answer, you can put contribute to the page. They won't be able to move forward until they actually put a response on the discussion board. So this is a great way to hold them accountable for moving through your course. And so once you've done that, you can update it. The other cool thing is you can lock a module. If you're a person like me, I like to use the same things over and over again. You can lock your modules until a certain date. So if you know the flow of your semester, your term, you can lock your modules as you go along. That way students won't be able to access it early to share with their friends and say, hey, this is what we did. And another good rule of thumb, if you don't want your students to access the resources after, you can unpublish. You can unpublish the certain things in the module. So that's something to keep in mind. Kelly, they can't unpublish assignments, correct? Once students have entries.
Correct.
Okay. Any questions? I see a lot coming through the.
I think I've got most of them covered.
You're good?
Okay. They're very, you've got some thank yous for going through the modules so carefully and step by step. They appreciate that.
Okay. So again, this is modules is our thing. We have some resources in here for you about building them, what to put on your content pages. A good rule of thumb, I'm going to go down to pages. No, we'll go to Commons and come back to pages because Canvas Commons is next. So Commons, Resource Hub, you can share with other people in other places. You can share within your district. You can filter. You can even preview content. So I will show you where that is. So everyone has a Canvas Commons button in their course. You should. it will be in your global navigation bar. So if you, for those of you who don't know the difference between the navigation bars, anything that's internal to the course, that's your course navigation bar. So everything here only applies to this particular course. Where can you go again to embed We'll talk about that, Kyla, when we get to pages. Global navigation is everything that applies to your Canvas account. So Commons is something that you can go and get resources for everything in your course, any course that you teach. Whereas anything you do within this course only applies to this course. There's only one thing within a course that applies to other courses. If you have multiple courses and you want to, say, copy a page, like this was a really great page and you want to put it in another course, there's a button called Copy To, where you can copy that really wonderful page into another course. So if you made a really good homepage, you want to share it across different classes, you can use the Copy To button. So that's what that button is. Assignments, you can copy anything to another course if you want to do that. But Canvas Commons, let's go over to Commons. You may have to authorize to get into Commons. And so what Commons is, it's like a world, it's a lot of stuff. It can be overwhelming. However, there is a filter feature in Commons. And I would strongly encourage you to use this, because if not, you'll be searching forever. You can, yeah, someone said that's what they do. I would strongly encourage you to filter. If you know that you are only looking for certain types of content. So if you want, say, a quiz, I'm going to search for a quiz. And you want it to be for 12th grade. One thing I will say about Commons material, remember that this is content that's being put in by other teachers. Sometimes when they are creating the content to put in, they don't always put the right grade levels. So make sure you actually look at the work, because they might put K-12. And I don't know, unless you teach in one schoolhouse, anyone who would give a kindergartner and a 12th grader the same work. So be very conscious of the grade level. Sometimes they don't always match. The shared with, if you want just public resources, that's everything in Commons. A lot of times your school district will appear there. So if you're in a district where they're giving you resources, you could limit it to just your school resources. But I'm going to choose quizzes, and I am going to go with fractions. So fractions for 12th graders. And so you'll see all the quizzes that are for 12th graders. Yes, I can show you briefly. And just as a preview, so when you choose, for instance, this fractions quiz, you can actually see the questions. So you don't have to guess. For those of you who may have used Canvas years before, we did not get this luxury. We had no idea what was in that fractions quiz. We just had to cross our fingers and hope for the best. So now they have a preview. You get the details on it, who created it, where they came from, what grade. See, this is one of those that kind of scares me. Do you see where it says 3 through graduate? When you're bringing content in, a lot of times they don't narrow it down. That is super important. Yes, it is. The tagging wasn't so great, right? I would have probably put fractions here as a tag. And then, you know, you can leave a review if you want to maybe encourage that person to upgrade that content, but be very mindful of that. You do have the ability to import this into your course.
Hey, Melanie.
Yes.
I just wanted to give you a timekeeper notice that you have
Yes.
about 10 minutes left, and there's so much content. And
Yes.
everybody's just anxious. So you're doing such a great job, though. Thank you.
Okay. All right. 10 minutes. All right. So Commons, you can import. And as a teacher, if you made something great, you can also share the Commons. So if you want to put your content in Commons, you have the ability to share it in Commons. So that's something as well. So if you made something and you want to give it to your friends, you can share it in Commons. They have the different sharing resources. One of the things I was telling you about is that grade level thing. Make sure you update that. So, all right, we're going to move on because I don't want to run out of time. All right, yes, I have a couple of things. All right, so some best practices for course pages. Introduce your lessons. Please tell your students what they're doing. Give them instructions. We're covering fractions. This is what a fraction is, in case you forgot. This is why we have fractions. Maybe give some examples. Notes, videos, screencasts. Students love to see their teachers. So you can make your own videos of yourself. You can bring things in, but they like you most of the time. They like you. So make a video of yourself going over some problems. You can attach documents. You can even link to other parts of Canvas within a content page. Let's see. So this is a big one for your special needs students. Immersive Reader. I'm actually going to go over to our course and show you Immersive Reader. If I can get back to my course. All right. So Immersive Reader, it shows up on content pages. Let me go into. Am I doing this right, Kelly? My brain is freezing. All right, so what Immersive Reader is, it allows for students to get the pages simplified and it can be read to them. If I can, Kelly, do I not have it turned on for this course?
It may not be turned on in the course settings.
It may not be turned on for this course. Let me see if I can find a course where it is turned on. So if it's turned on here. I'm not sure if it's turned on in this course either, but you'll see the button in the upper right-hand corner. It's an Immersive Reader button, and it allows the page to be read to the student so they can hear it for your students who are not great readers, and it'll highlight the words as they are reading. With assignments, another best practice, instructions. I think that's just the number one thing. Please give your students instructions. And when I say instructions, not do this, I've seen this, or complete this, or click here. Tell them exactly what they need to do, because as soon as you walk away or you give them work time, the hands go up and say, what are we supposed to be doing? How do you do this? Why am I doing this? So your instructions need to say what they're doing, why they're doing, what's your outcome, what's your goal, your objective, and how does it tie to the overview for everything that you are doing. Immersive Reader is for everyone. You can also use rubrics. So that is a part of Canvas as well. And students also have multiple ways that they can submit. So they can upload images. So if it's, say, art and they've done something at home, they can take a picture and upload it. They can enter text entry, so they can enter assignments, they can type in a box. If your school has Studio, they can make a video submission. So if they aren't great at typing, they can record. And if you're doing ESL, for instance, they can speak their response. And so you have different ways, and Google Drive as well can be integrated with Canvas. Time check, I have about 5 minutes. Again, we were talking about assignments. You do have what's called a rich content editor, and this is just a way to make your instructions and your pages look pretty. And so just typing words and putting links is really not engaging for students. You can add like colors and pictures and do all of that within Canvas as well. quizzes, the best practices, quizzes is your friend. Even though it's called quizzes, you can use this for classroom assignments. If you're doing like a warm up in the morning and you want to give them 3 questions to see if they understood what you covered yesterday, you can give them a quick check. 3 questions. It doesn't have to be graded. It can be complete, incomplete. It can be for no points. But you have 12 different question types from multiple choice to essay that you can use. We have a feature in Canvas called Speed Grader. And what Speed Grader does is it allows you to put a rubric. It allows you to see how each student responded. And so you can give them feedback. You can give them comments on their assignments. If they uploaded a document, for instance, you can annotate that document and give them feedback right on the document. And they can reply back and forth with you as well. And you also have the ability to moderate. For instance, if you make a discussion board, you can moderate that. You can look at the post before it goes to the class, because there are some students that can be suspect, and you want to watch what they post before they post it. Speed Grader as well. I know some of you said you have autistic students. You can grade student work with audio and video. So if you want to give a video response so the students can see you, you have that capacity to do that. And you also have the capacity to put in a rubric as well. All right, in our last section before we get out of here, the student experience. For students, you want this to be easy. Students don't scroll. If most of you know this, you can probably raise your hand. If they have to scroll, they are not going to read it. So be mindful when you're putting things on a page. Don't put a lot of content, because the moment they have to scroll, they are not going to read it. Make sure that you let them know what's coming up. Whenever you makes assignments, the due date automatically goes on the internal calendar for students. So make sure you show them where the calendar is so they can see where all their work is. It all lives there and it's color coded. When is it assigned? When is it due? How do they find out? Announcements are your friend. Use them. You know, they show up in the resource bar. From the parent perspective, there is a Canvas app. So there you have to get that. Most school districts will set that up. I think Kelly's probably going to put something in the chat about that. The mobile app is your friend. I get alerts for everything. When my son's work is graded, when it's turned in, when it's late, they do that. In the chat right now are the session surveys and attendance trackers. So I'm going to keep going for these last couple of minutes. The parent experience, for those of you who've never seen the app before, the parent has no access to their content. They can only see their grades. They can message you about specific assignments within the app, and they can see everything that the student sees. They just have no interaction. So they can't do their students' work in the app. For those of you who may be concerned about that, they can only see it. A few final tips and tricks. These are some resources for you as far as embedding documents, how to delete things, undelete things. We delete pages by accident. And then some concluding thoughts. I'm only one, but still I am one. I cannot do everything, but still I can do something. And because I cannot do everything, I will not refuse to do something that I can do. I love this quote. And I hope everyone else does as well. Kelly, is this the correct link? Yes?
Yes, that is the correct link.
That is the correct link. She's going to put that in the chat. And this is the same link from the last session. However, you will choose my name instead of Kelly's name. If you want to choose her name, you can. But this session was called Best Practices, and hopefully everyone enjoyed it. And
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you so much, Melanie and Kelly. One quick announcement before you guys leave for lunch. Please refresh your schedule page when you return to the schedule. You know, there's been some minor changes, and that will give you the most up-to-date and accurate information. And the next session will begin at 11:55, and we will be back here in the same room, room 3, with Canvas Parent University.
Sorry, I couldn't find the attendance sheet. I'm sorry.
The attendance sheet, I will put it back in the chat, and you have the session survey and the attendance.
Oh, it's the session
Yep,
survey. I'm sorry. Okay, then.
Oh, yep, you're fine. And I just put it back in there. So
Thanks.
thanks everybody, and have a great lunch.